We know Shavuos is coming up this coming week, and also it's Parashas Naso, so I figure we'll tie in Shavuos and Naso together, and I figure maybe we'll talk about Birkas Kohanim, which is something we do on Yantav. Maybe we'll discuss why we only do it on Yantav and not every day, as we'll get to. But this
Shavuos and Naso, how often are they together? It's quite rare.
It's usually by Midbar.
Yeah, Olam at the end of the Haftarah.
Right. Yeah, and that's what the Gemara in Bagila that we read by Midbar. We will read Bechukosai before Shavuos, and we read the Kolos beforehand. Yeah, but I guess maybe this year is a leap year. Yeah, but it's most time by Midbar. I guess I don't remember it so, but
there was a little blurb in the thing they had on Shavuos about Naso coming. That's very rare.
Yeah, it is a rare.
And it happens only when Marcus Masa is separated, whatever. It's very rare.
So let's discuss. The first question is Birkas Kohanim, a mitzvah min haTorah or a mitzvah midrabanan? So clearly, it's a pasuk in the Chumash, so it definitely was or is a mitzvah min haTorah. The question is Bisman Hazeh, is there any reason to assume that it gets a downgrade to a mitzvah midrabanan or not? So, in fact, most poskim assume, and we've shown him that it is daraisa, even Bisman Hazeh. However, there's a famous shita from the Morksiyah, Rabbi Yaakov Emdin. Rabbi Yaakov Emdim, he claims that Bisman Hazeh, Sfiras HaOmer, so Birkas Kohanim, is only a mitzvah midrabanan. Why in the world would Birkas Kohanim only be a mitzvah midrabanan? So he claims, if you look at Parashat Shmini, which is another pasuk that talks about Aaron blessing the people in conjunction with karbanos. So Rabbi Yaakov Emden wants to say a chiddush that Birkas Kohanim is linked to karbanos. Some will claim, who says that pasuk is even talking about Birkas Kohanim? The fact that Aaron's blessing the people. But those are the two psukim they quote by Shmini, but the simple pasuk is the one in this week's parasha. So Rabbi Yaakov Emden claims that Birkas Kohanim is only D'Rabbanan. In fact,
right to the pasuk with no other sources. Just go right to the pasuk and right from the
right. He says it's conjunction. Then he quotes some other. That's his main raya. What he says. So actually, the reason why I keep on saying Sfiras Omer because it's comparable to Sfiras Omer. That we know that Sfiras Omer is a mitzvah min haTorah. It's a pasuk in the Chumash. Yet it's a major machlokas rishonim whether Sfiras Omer Bisman Hazeh is a mitzvah midrabanan or deraisa. The Rambam Shita, maybe the Sefer Achinach, that Sfiras Omer is still deraisa today, and Rov Rishonim hold that Sfiras D'Rabbanan. What's the issue? Whether Sfiras Omer is deraisa or D'Rabbanan today? So the pashtus is the way the Achronim write is whether Sfiras Omer is an independent mitzvah of the Karban Omer, or is the mitzvah of Sfira and the Karban Omer, are they linked or are they independent? So pashtus, if Sfiras Omer is an independent mitzvah, so then obviously it's still deraisa today. If Sfiras Omer is connected to Karbanos, so then it's only D'Rabbanan. So too, that's what Rabbi Yaakov Emden wants to claim by Birkas Kohanim, that Birkas Kohanim is linked to Karbanos, which is a chiddush, because it's not even clear that pasuk in Shmini is even talking about Birkas Kohanim. Nevertheless, he says it's linked to Karbanos, it's only D'Rabbanan. So how do we explain that Shitas who say it's deraisa? They could disagree with that. They could say the pasuk is not talking about Birkas Kohanim. That's probably the pashtus. But al pi lamdis, they say, if you assume that, if you want to say you're in agreement with him, that even if it is talking about Birkas Kohanim, you can argue it in two different ways. One is similar also to Sfiras Omer. As I mentioned, the Rambam Shita is Sfiras Omer is a mitzvah deraisa even Bisman Hazeh. But so what do we say? Then the Rambam should hold that Svira and Karban Omer are independent mitzvahs. So the problem is, we could bring a geographical proof from the Rambam that doesn't hold that way. Where does the Rambam bring down Hilchas Sviras HaOmer? I would have said he could have brought it down in Hilchas Meir, he could have brought it down in Hilchas Pesach, he could have brought it down in Hilchas Tvila. He brings it down in Hilchas Tamidim and Musafim. So obviously, like all good briskers, they'll say what the obvious raya that the Rambam considers Sviras HaOmer did in the Karban, connected to the Karban Omer. Obviously, well, why else would you put it in Hilchas Karbanos? So the kashas of what's found in the Rambam then. The Rambam, we have the two shitas fit in. Either if you hold it's deraisa, so the other shitas hold it's deraisa, you can still hold that way. Pashas, Svira is independent, and if you hold it's derabanan, then Svira and the Karban are connected. But how could you have a shita that says it's deraisa and at the same time say it's connected to the Karban? So that's a famous Rav Chaim.
Under which Hilchos is it? In the
Hilchos Tamidin and Musafim. So there's a famous Rav Chaim in the Beis Hale, in the Brisker Haggadah, they bring it down, and many people quote the Rav Chaim. That basically Rav Chaim, so the question they ask, the Rambam seems to go, the Rambam seems to go against the Gemara, that Sviras HaOmer is the Rabbi. First they discuss the Gemara in Menachos. There's a Machlokas Abaye and Ameimar on whether Sviras HaOmer is how do you count Sviras HaOmer? So one opinion is you count days and weeks, and one opinion you only count days. And the Gemara at the end says it's a zeichel. After counting days, he says it's a zeichel. Why do you only count days? It's a zeichel mikdash. So they ask, how could the Rambam? So Rov Rishonim learn that zeichel mikdash is going on both opinions. It's how. In other words, the issue is how much of a zeichel do you need? Is it enough just to mention days, or it's enough that you have to remember? But everyone agrees it's a zeichel mikdash. So how could the Rambam go against the Gemara and even say it's the right? It's obviously a real brisker. It's a difficult Gemara, not a difficult Rambam. But how to the Rambam, obviously we learn the Gemara differently. The Rambam we learn that's goof of the machlokas in the Gemara. The opinion who says that you count days and weeks because it's biblical. The opinion that says you only count days, that's only a mitzvah midrabanan. That's how the Rambam would learn. So the question is, how could the Rambam say it's deraisa and be connected to the Karban? So Rav Chaim says this Gemara in Menachos is a famous machlokas in the Rishonim and many Gemaras about. There's a machlokas also in the Gemara about Kedushas Eretz Yisrael. In terms of Kedusha Rishona, there's one sheet that Kedusha Rishona is from Avram Avinu, but we assume when we talk about Kedusha Rishona, it's Yoshua, and Kedusha Shniya is from Ezra. So there's a whole discussion whether each one is L'Shaisa, L'Asilavo, etc. That's a separate machlokas regarding Eretz Yisrael. But the Rambam, when it comes to Kedushas HaMikdash, so the Rambam writes, no matter what you want to say about Kedushas Eretz Yisrael, Hakol Moldim, even though Hakol isn't Moldim, but the Rambam says, that he says anyway, that Kedushas HaMikdash is intact even Bizman Hazeh. And he says that, the Gemara, which, according to those opinions that say it's a Zeichel HaMikdash, they're only going with they're working with the opinion which is Aliban, not Kehilchasa. That's working with the sheet. There is no Kedusha today. But I hold there is Kedusha. In fact, that's what he points out, and that's the whole Machlokas walking on the Temple Mount. So the Rambam...
Kitchen, the Shata, Kitchen, Osidlova, is that what we have?
Yeah, that's on, so the Rambam says it's... The Rambam writes, Kedushas HaMikdash is La'asid Lavo, Hashchina Eina Betela, because it's dependent on the divine presence. It has to do with what kinyan, whether it's a chazaka, that you can talk about the Kedusha Eretz Yisrael staying or not staying. But Kedushas HaMikdash, he says, there's nothing to talk about, because Hashchina Eina Betela, the divine presence you can't take away, even though the Beis HaMikdash isn't there, but God's still there. And that's why we pass the Makriv and Afa Pisha Ein Lo Bayis. Even though there's no Beis HaMikdash, you could still bring karbanas, and that's what Rav Chaim points out. So to answer up the Svira, he says that when did they bring the carbon omer. That wasn't until the next morning. The Sfiras Omer you started the night before. So even Bisman Beis HaMikdash Kayim, they always did the Sfira before. There can't be totally and it's physically bringing the carbon because they started the Sfira the night before. What constitutes the mitzvah d'oraisa? I'm counting Sfira with the potential of tomorrow morning I will bring the carbon omer. Practically speaking, I'm not. We went into many technical difficulties about whether they're Kohanim, whether they're Tum Tamei Mesim, list, do we know the Makam HaMikdash, a whole list of issues we could have a whole share on about why don't we bring Karbanos today. But the sheet of the Rambam is, fundamentally, there is Kedushas HaMikdash, and hence you can bring a carbon. That's why the Rambam writes, the laws of Shchutei Chutz apply. Because the laws, if you bring a carbon outside a bum, or you bring a carbon outside the Beis HaMikdash, you're violating Shchutei Chutz, because in the Rambam's mind, the same Kedusha. Interesting, the Ravid disagrees with the Rambam. He says the opposite. He says the Kedushas HaMikdash isn't forever because they knew B'Nevuah, that's a big question what the Ravid means. But Nigel Lee, because the Ravid was a big Baal Kabbalah, so people think he's saying, I got a dream one night, or whatever, the Arizal came down to me, however he knew it. Others say, no, it doesn't mean Lee, it means Ezra knew that when they were going to build the second temple, he knew it wasn't going to be permanent, so they never endowed it. So actually the Rabbi argues on that Nakuda.
But it may just be that he says there's no carbon.
Right, that's what the lesson is. So people always quote the Rabbi as arguing with the Rambam. All the Rabbi says is Hanichnas Ata Ein Lo Kares. So there's a big, so many Achronim say, and in fact, if you notice, when the Rambam talks about this halacha elsewhere, the Ravid doesn't make any hasagas, implying that he agrees with the Rambam. So many Achronim say that basically the Ravid fundamentally agrees with the Rambam, that in terms there is Kedushas HaMikdash. The issue is a separate issue. It's a local din in whether there's a Chi of Kares. There's a whole discussion. There's Kedushas, but the based on the Gemara in Zvachim, there was the Kedusha that David gave to the Beis HaMikdash, Kedushas Ritzpah they call it, and there was Kedushas Abayis. So perhaps Bisman Hazeh, that there's a difference, that there's no Chi of Kares when there's no Beis HaMikdash. But in terms of the Din D'Oraisa of Kedushas HaMikdash, you can make a strong case that even the Ravid would also, everyone agrees there's something special about the Makam HaMikdash, even without the Beis HaMikdash. Even though there's some, the Meiri writes during his time the minig was to walk on. People used to walk on the Temple Mount, and other Rishonim say the minig. So I guess it's an historical machlokas in the Rishonim. The minig clearly today is not to. You have those issues like Rav Gora and others. They did a whole calculation, and in theory, there are places where you can go up, like working with working out all the details, and then they say whether you take off your shoes, what you could go up with. But there could be the minig is not to go up, but there are certain ways. I don't mean for an Israeli soldier and when you have to, you have to. But I'm saying even for an average person to go up, the minig is not to. But there are ways where you could probably get by and without actually going into the if you assume exactly where the places are, etc.
But you'll be in the place of Tosefes, not bias. You won't be in the
exactly. Yeah, so that's what
it's only 400 by 400.
Yeah, so it's a whole. I think people tell me they have tours like that. Like religious people go on. You want?
First Omer, you're saying even at the time when they were maked the carbon Omer, it was in the morning.
Right. So therefore, they counted at night. So Rav Chaim saying is. It's almost Rav Chaim. He's explaining Shita.
But they took the Omer at night.
That's the Kasira. So you mean even
so
right?
Kasira, wouldn't it be tied to the korban? I mean,
no, you could, maybe that. You could say it's not. That's what Rav Chaim says. But you could, if you want to cholek on that yesod, you could say you could be chalak between then and now. There was no Kasira. The Kasira Omer was at night. That's true.
So he's holding Kasira is not tied to the
right. Even though, and this parenthetically, I think some Achronim said that that's the case. So maybe we have a chiyuv to bring karbanos. So some make a distinction between when you have a Beis HaMikdash up, you have a chiyuv to bring. But now, in theory, assuming you could work out all the technical problems, when there's no Beis HaMikdash, some say then it's like a mitzvah harishah. So you wouldn't be no one said you actually go ahead. There was a discussion by the Karban Pesach.
That's the chuya.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the chuya or hutra.
But that's what's bothering us.
Yeah.
Ksira was tied to the korban. So the fact when there wasn't korbanos, there wasn't a ksira.
No, but even the fact that they didn't bring a ksira doesn't mean like.
No, but the fact.
But maybe it's.
Is that what you're really doing is there's a sphira and there's a korban and there's a ksira. So I thought the ksira was part of the korban, therefore that's why I didn't understand the Rabbi.
No, but that's part. But that issue is part of another machlokas whether you can count during the day or not. Because if you hold it connected to the ksira, then what? You shouldn't be able to count the day. Day would make. It's
Right.
only some say
Right.
if it's the karbanoma that gets into the whole the whole issue when you forget if you miss a day during the whole bahag sheet about they talk. But that's what they tie into, yeah.
If the ksira is not tied to the korban, then even if there's no korban, you should do ksira separately. See, that's why I thought it was tied to the korban. So the fact is that, but according to Chaim's idea, the ksira has nothing to do with that. The ksira maybe has something to do with this, or it's an independent idea. So you can do sphira, then you should do ksira, and then forget about the korban altogether.
Right. So that's how some things like Rav Chaim and they mention Akash about. Clearly, Rav Chaim held there wasn't, but you're right. One can definitely make an argument and make a distinction right between the two.
Does the Meiri say specifically, kitchel shato, lo kitchel sedlovoy?
No, well that's a machlokas in the Rishonim without
But
it.
you said the Meiri.
No, he is right.
They used to
Right,
walk
when
in
he
the
writes,
mikdash.
yeah, when he writes, because I'm not sure I don't remember what his sheet was exactly. He might have just been descriptive. I'm not sure if that was his sheet. I remember him writing and saying, and by the way, the minig was people used to go up. So clearly he was assuming in his time that was whether it was his sheet or not. I don't remember if he actually said. We don't need him to say it. Other Rishonim say it. In terms of that.
No.
Yeah. So that's what. So therefore, we have Rav Chaim that says you can be connected to the Karban Omer and still say it's still the right because in theory you could bring it. So perhaps that's one way we could answer. So we said Rav Yaakov Emden says it's only D'Rabbanan today because it's connected to Aaron, bless the people in conjunction with the Karbanos. It's linked to the Karbanos. So we say, but we don't know on Pasuk like Rav Yaakov Emden, so why not? So Pasha is because the pasuk's not talking about Birkas Kohanim. If you want to give them the benefit of the doubt that it is. So we say even if it's connected to Karbanos, but in theory we can bring Karbanos. Just like the Rav Chaim saying in the Rambam by Sfirat Omer, so we can say that by Birkas Kohanim and say maybe it still retains its biblical. Maybe you could argue it, even if you want to argue, which I'm not saying we will argue, even if you want to argue it is connected to Karbanos, it could still be Daraisa because in theory, we could bring karbanos even bizman hazeh because of kedushas hamikdash.
So if it's daraisa, why do we not have Birkas Kohanim on Shabbos?
I'll get to why don't we have it during the week even?
Yeah.
Why forget about we'll get to that in a couple of moments. And then, or perhaps you could say like of Selevan, he wanted to say another pshat. Why? What's the pshat in our? Why do we assume it's still daraisa? What about Rabbi Yaakov Emden's taina? So we know there's a famous Gemara in Brachas, Chavav and Beis. The Gemara talks about who instituted Tefillah. So the Machlokas in the Gemara where the Tefillah is Avos Tiknun, Avram Shacharis, Yitzchak Mincha, Yaakov Ma'ariv, or Keneged Karbanos. So we know the Gemara throughout says Tefillah, Keneged Karbanos. So the Rav pointed out it's not just a nice drasha for a sermon Shabbos morning. This is a real din that tefillah corresponds to karbanos. He says, and yes, that's why. Why is Birkas Kohanim? Why are we doing it in the middle of Shmona Esrei, right by Ritzei, right by the Avoda? We don't eat matzah in the middle of Shmona Esrei. We don't shake lulav. Why Birkas Kohanim is a mitzvah? Why are we doing it in the middle of Shmona Esrei? So that's what the Rav Soloveitchik wanted to point out. That even if you want to agree with Rav Yaakov Emden's Yisod, that the Birkas Kohanim has to be in conjunction with karbanos. That's since Tefillah Keneged Karbanos, we dafka do Birkas Kohanim in the context of Tefillah, right by the Avoda, and therefore that's why it retains its daraisa says. Whichever lumdish you want to give, the bottom line, Rabbi Yaakov Endem seems to be a minority view that Bisman Hazeh, Birkas Kohanim is only D'Rabbanan, and we assume that Birkas Kohanim is daraisa. So the question is that if Birkas Kohanim,
I understand.
Yeah.
So basically, why is it again that?
no, he's saying it's tefillah connected karbanos at the real drush, and therefore doing Birkas Kohanim in the context of tefillah, meaning Ayish B'nai Esrei, that gets it its biblical status.
And that's what he would say.
Yeah, that's why it's right by the avoda. Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's just working with Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and even if you want to take his assumption, he wants to say tefillah connected karbanos. So we
The
passed it.
Karbonos are not Daraisa today. So therefore, Birkas Kohanim cannot be Daraisa if it's connected with Karbonos.
No, we're saying but the Rambam sheet that tefillah is daraisa.
But not as specific.
The pashas, we assume it's not connected. The simple shot is it's not connected to karbanos, it's daraisa. They're just giving different lumdis to explain Rabbi Yaakov Emden. The pashas is that it's not connected to karbanos. It's a din daraisa of Birkas Kohanim.
Separate from
independent, right?
The Rabbi is arguing that there's at least some
Right,
not defending Rabbi Yochanan. He's introducing the idea that says there must be a connection between.
Right, he's saying because the fact that we do it, the fact that Chazal, right. So the question is if it's deraisa, so the Stipler writes, every time we have a mitzvah in our Torah, and the Torah doesn't tell us how often and when, so the assumption is once a day, every day. So in fact, that is the minhag in Eretz Yisrael. We say we do Birkas Kohanim every day. And in fact, in Chutz La'aretz, in certain Svardi Kehilas, apparently, they do Birkas Kohanim also every day. However, the standard minhag Ashkenaz is no Birkas Kohanim except on Yontif. And the question is, why not? Birkas Kohanim is a mitzvah daraisa. There seems to be no reason. It's not a mitzvah satluyas ba'aretz that we should make a distinction between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. So why only, so why don't Ashkenazim do Birkas Kohanim and Chutz? So in fact, that was a major discussion going back. The Aruch HaShulchan gives us a teaser. He writes about two Gedolim who try to introduce it. But it's kind of like a Baskol came out from Shamayim and said no. I assume he's referring to the Vilna Gaon and Rav Chaim Volozhin. The way the Ma'isa they say over is, the Vilna Gaon, I guess for a long time, was bothered by, come on, Birkas Kohanim, why not? So he's okay, that's it. Tomorrow morning we're starting Birkas Kohanim. That night, the police come and put him in jail. I think a Ma'isa with the Hasidim, whatever. And the story happened. They write about the Vilna Gaon in jail. Of course, he took his Shabbos with him, and he says it was perfect place, no one bothering. What's the difference? It's jail. He's sitting and learning wherever. And he told his Shabbos, "Go get me I need a cup of coffee." And he doesn't sleep at night. So he said, "We're in jail. Let me tell you how to get out. You see those pipes?" And he gives him a hope. This is how you get out of jail. Come back with my coffee. So I don't know if he ever got the coffee or not. But either way, so that's and then the Vilna Gaon said after he got out of jail, he took it not to start it again. And Rav Chaim Volozhin also wanted to start. I think that night a big fire broke out that they never seen before throughout wherever it was, Vilna, wherever it was, and they said whatever reason, we don't know why, but obviously the signs are from heaven. They don't want us doing Birkas Kohanim. So, but why not? So why? So the Beis Yosef quotes a couple of reasons he thinks he's docha b'shtei yadayim. He doesn't like them at all. He quotes one reason. He says some quote. There's a minhag for people, for the Kohanim, to go to the mikvah before they do Birkas Kohanim. So I guess in Europe, it was very cold. Lake Ontario here doesn't even in the summer. It's too cold to swim in. But they used to go into the mikvah, and it was too cold, so the Kohanim stopped going to the mikvah. So since they didn't go to the mikvah, they stopped doing Birkas Kohanim. So the Major says it's ridiculous. Going to the mikvah is a minhag. Saying Birkas Kohanim is a din daraisa because you didn't do the minhag of mikvah. So he says that's a ridiculous answer. He's docha b'shtei yadayim. Some want to say because it's only d'Rabbanan. Even I don't understand why it's only d'Rabbanan would help anyway. But we don't paskin it's d'Rabbanan, so it's d'Rabbanan. You still should do it. We do mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, but doesn't mean. But even now we paskin it's d'Oraisa anyway. And therefore he rejects and he says, Tov, it's great. Those people who do Birkas Kohanim daily, they get praised for it. Beis Yosef says it's a great thing. Keep up the good work. However, the Ramah himself already writes about the minig in Chutz La'aretz not to do Birkas Kohanim, and he writes because we only do it in Eretz Yisrael, but in Chutz La'aretz we're not shari b'simcha. But Birkas Kohanim apparently requires a certain level of ba'ava, of simcha, and therefore, since we're in Chutz La'aretz, we have the daigus of Chutz La'aretz, Parnasa, whatever, the Gayim, whatever it might be, and therefore, we're not on the level to do Birkas Kohanim.
Where'd you get that from?
Exactly, so the question is, very good, I could drop, I know many people who say that about many mitzvahs, so I don't...
Hallel, for example.
What?
For example, Hallel.
Hallel. Tefillin doesn't do it, but I'm not that happy anymore. I think I'm going to stop putting on tefillin. Where do you get, so what, I'm not happy. So what?
Didn't even brought the being simple.
No, right, no, so obviously there's more to it, but that's what, so what's the...
But the Shechina not being shore on someone who is not b'simcha.
Yeah, so that's why, so like a Navi, it says the Navi only gets Nevuah when he's showing, when he's b'simcha, right, because so we'll get to it in a second, but there is some type of connection to Simcha, but I'll come back to that in a second. But I want to explain what the Ramah really means. That, of course, the fact that you don't have to, so lo lishma, bo lishma, like everything else, work on yourself, become the Simcha, then do it. Don't not do it. So obviously there's more to that. So that's what the Achronim point out. That, what is the chiyuv of Birkas Kohanim? The chiyuv to do Birkas Kohanim is only if you're called up. If they call out Kohanim or whatever they call out, so that's why if an Ashkenaz Kohen is in a Sephardi shul and they call out Kohanim, you're chayav to go up. The fact that you're an Ashkenaz, I don't do it. No, you don't do it. Once you get, and in fact, if tomorrow morning in your shul someone gets up and calls up the Kohanim, there's a chiyuv to go up and do Birkas Kohanim. So this is what the Ramah is saying is. Because since we're not shari b'simcha and really Birkas Kohanim yava, there is some kesher between doing the bracha b'simcha. So since we can't do it properly, so if you don't have to do it, better not to do it. But once you're called up, everyone agrees you have to go ahead and do it. That's what the Ramah says. So even on Shabbos, it's only a 1 day break during the week. We're still thinking about Parnasa, everything else. We still have too many daigas. Yantif already. When we have a couple of days of Yantiv, now we can reach the level of Simcha. We have Bas of a Yayin, or on Shavuos even dairy, and then we can reach that level of Simcha. So that's the plan. It can't be just because it has to be once you have the once you get called up, then Simcha, no Simcha, you got to get up there.
Is there more quoting for this?
No, the Ramah's quoting.
But even then, where do you get the spara to say that it's totally on Simcha? The fact that you're not called. I mean, why does the
where does the Ramah get the Simcha part?
Where are you saying that this is where the Ramah?
The Ramah himself says it. Ramah writes that. I think that's the Ramah's lashon.
No, of Simcha.
Yeah,
but
right.
This idea that it doesn't kick in until you're called.
So
long as you get called.
But that's not the Ramah. That's that they explain what.
Why?
That's from Kol Sivaruch. They quote like the Psukim about Kol Sivaruch.
So you should be called.
Yeah.
It should be like lane more. It should be. But so what? So why does Simcha have? Where's the spar to say that Simcha is related to that?
No, Simcha is not. I'm saying is because what they're saying is it's two points independent but connected. What they're saying is if the only issue is Simcha. Okay, so work on yourself. Go to a psychiatrist, do what you have to, get some therapy, become a simcha. But the point, but since by Birkas Kohanim, how they get, they learn out that the real chiyuv of Birkas Kohanim is when you get called up. So what they're saying, the basis of Ramah is because you're not really obligated in Birkas Kohanim until you actually call someone up. So normally it's but why mavatil a mitzvah that you could do? So obviously the Ramah is assuming, which is that if you can't do a mitzvah, perhaps if you can't do a quote unquote conditional mitzvah properly, better not to put yourself in that situation. What the Ramah is assuming is better not to do Birkas Kohanim at all. If you don't...
But that's the same as saying a sukkah has to be dalad al dalad and so on and so forth. So therefore, if you don't make a sukkah, then you don't have... the mitzvah birchas kohanim, it only comes in after the way.
No, right.
You do it.
Sukkah could be.
So then don't put up the sukkah.
No, that sukkah could be there could be an isser. Also, that's the minchas chinuch discusses whether it's just a mitzvah. There could be an isser aseh of sitting chutz sukkah. That's the Oshayla of an onain. The minchas chinuch an onain on during sukkahs, during Chol Hamoed. So what does he do?
Would there be a bittul aseh on the kohanim if they didn't go? No, the bittul aseh only comes in only after.
That's what they're saying. Yeah, that's
after they get called.
Right. That's what.
Whereas tefillin you wouldn't have that.
Right. That's something. That's another. That's.
Because tefillin you have the mitzvah whether you.
Right. That's what they all say. The Ramah makes the comment, and then all the Achronim have to explain all these questions. So the Ramah doesn't. So they say obviously these are the assumptions it's based on.
The Ramah's not really kind of key. What's interesting to the Ramah is he's not saying why don't Kohanim do it. He's saying why don't we create the situation that leads the Kohanim to do it. So he's basically saying that Kohanim can do whatever they want. So since we're not the simcha,
we're not Sharei B'Simcha,
we don't create the situation for a bracha that isn't the simcha because there's an inyan of bracha being the simcha. So why do we want a second-class bracha?
It's kind of, I guess it's similar and different, but that's the first bracha Shmon Esrei. So really, the discussion, you really have to have, more kavanah than the rest. So the bottom line is we'd be davening all day.
That's the right.
But there were some gedolim who actually went back after bracha rishon. If they didn't have it, but I'm saying the same type of thing, But here he's more like descriptive. It's an unfortunate situation. In fact, that's why there's an interesting discussion. Machaber Ramah. It's totally. And this let's say there was this discussion if a Kohen Avil could do duchening, but also there's a shiloh with the Machaber Rabbah if a katan or not a katan, someone who's not married. So the Machaber writes no unmarried Kohen should not do duchening, and the Ramah says that even a single. So what's the machlokas? I like saying tongue.
says
the Ramah says yes. The Machaber says no. So I say the machlokas tongue in cheese. Can someone be happy if they're not married? The Machaber paskins no, and the Ramah writes you could maybe the ultimate simcha if you are married, but you can still be. You have enough of a simcha for birkas kohanim. Yeah. What did you want to say, John?
What happened during the time of the Beis Hamikdash in Chutz La'aretz? Did they do it every day?
When the Beis Hamikdash was up?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mishnah says that they had a different formula. In the Beis Hamikdash, they did it as three. We do it as 3 psukim, and they did it as one continuous. Right? There's a difference. Yeah, there's a difference between what we have. Now there's no difference today.
So in Chutz La'aretz they did it every day.
Yeah. I think it's about 500 years old. I saw someone quote.
The people in Chutz La'aretz during the Beis Hamikdash they were happy.
The Mishnah describes
it.
It's like how the.
No, it's definitely done.
No, I'm saying because you're saying that.
I just saw someone quoting one of the Svarim that since this practice has been happening for 500 years, not saying because of Chutz La'aretz he doesn't want to change it. So it's at least So at some point, clearly it was then. I'm saying I don't know exactly what year. It would be interesting historically when they stopped saying it.
I mean, so it used to be that you were in Chutz La'aretz, you were happy. I guess you can. Now we're not.
Yeah, no, you could be happy because the Beis Hamikdash was up. I guess you could be happy in Chutz La'aretz.
But they continued even after the Beis Hamikdash was done.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
and those were not happy times.
Exactly. So maybe he still had the residue of simcha, and then I don't know. It's a good.
What's going through my mind is the thing about Yitzchak and Esav. The Yitzchak specifically sends Esav out to go bring him food, but the simcha before he gets.
Yeah, that's what.
So the question is that whether there's an inyan that to do a bracha you want to be the simcha. So maybe there was something already developed.
It is. That goes. Yeah, Esav. That's the first one by Esav, and he says he wanted to be. He said, get me some steak and all that because he wanted. That's what they say by Elisha, kachui minagin. When he wanted to get a nevuah, get someone. Music, food, those type of things. You need to be shari b'simcha. Yeah.
The fact is that there may be a point in time where people felt, listen, there's no point trying to get a bracha. There's no simcha around it.
Right. No, in terms of that, but that's So it's still no one. So that Achronim struggle with and some bring down. I saw other Achronim bring down that perhaps they're not because of the old Kasha Kohani Chazaka. Then again, but people think the Yemot Silat and the Kohanim, but some are brought down. But we assume Kohanim Chazaka are good Kohanim. There's one, I think it was a Pri Chadesh, a very strange to me, but maybe we'll go into more next time. He said, because the Kohanim lived in the house where there was a Nida, so then the Kohanim could make the Birkas Kohanim. Something like strange like that. But, and then the Kohanim go like, what are you talking about? Like what kind of minig is? But that's, so I think what they quote the Pri Chadash as saying something like that. But the bottom line is, after all being said, it's difficult why we don't do Birkas Kohanim. And in fact, if you call it, you do it. But the minig of over 500 years of not doing it, I guess, as the Aruch HaShulchan says, it's kind of like a baskol coming down from Shamayim. The stories with the Vilna Gaon and why. The bottom line is the minig is that among Ashkenaz anyway, we don't do Birkas Kohanim and that's why I guess it is one of the differences between Ashkenaz, between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz for Ashkenaz in terms of davening. One is Birkas Kohanim.
So what happened to
chiyuv on the Kohanim?
That's another question also, but it's definitely a chiyuv on the Kohen. But the question is it also a chiyuv on? Is a chiyuv on the Kohen to bless the people? That's a discussion the Torah Tamima talks about. Is there a chiyuv for me to be blessed? Like in other words, like he says, he quotes, let's say, by the mitzvah of Pru Ravu. So obviously the mitzvah is on the man, and you could get into whether but it says a woman is, but so there's a lesson I think in one of the Rishonim Achronim and in Kedushin that somehow the woman's involved in some mitzvah. So what mitzvah? I think it's a Rosh or a Ran over there in Kedushin. So what mitzvah? So he has the whole chiddush. I don't know if his Torah is quoting someone else or his own. That her mitzvah is to Messiah. Obviously, you can't do Puru without her. So and he writes the same thing also by Simchas Yantiv. Maybe even if there's no chiyuv on a woman, which is Rabbi Kiva Eker's kasha about if she forgets the Alav Yavo and on Yantiv, does the woman have to go back? But he has the same miso that she's chai because she has to make sure her husband has the suit, so if he quotes the same thing, maybe over here by Birkas Kohanim, in addition for it to be a chiyuv on the Kohen, it could be, it's a mitzvah on you, that you should be, that you should be blessed as well. So he discusses.
So what's the bottom line?
I mean the bottom line. I don't know if there's enough kamina. Obviously, we're not going to walk out.
Does it need a tzibur?
Right. So some say, with to 10 people for Birkas Kohanim. Yeah. Yes, Pasha says it's a davar shabbat kedusha.
Is that a mitzvah on the tzibur or is it a mitzvah on the individuals?
Right.
There might be enough kamina if you're at a minyan where there's no Kohen present. You have to go to it, find another place somewhere.
Oh, that would be no. That would be no. There'd be enough kamina maybe if there are kohanim and you want to walk out. But I'm saying is in that case that's a separate question. It's interesting. Shabbos. Actually, I had one.
Why not? Why is that on the Shaila?
No.
Why do you not have to walk? How do you know you don't have to walk to a minyan to get a bracha?
No, I'm saying I'm getting to that. I'm saying actually I was at a Hashkama minyan. Actually, and actually it was in. Actually, I'm not sure if it happened over Pesach. I'm not sure if we had a Kohen Hashkama minyan, but either way, so it happened to me in Woodmere also, and there was no Kohen. Okay, and so someone came over to me and said. Like you said, to have to go back to the second minyan to hear Birkas Kohanim. It piqued my interest. I remember looking it up. I mean, Pashas, I would think no. I mean, it seems, it's more of a chovas at Tzibur, or you're in there. Again, unless you want to tie it, you didn't call them up. So it could be kind of like Kriyas HaTorah, like Pashas, it's the chovas at Tzibur. The only question is that you started laying together and the Crusades came and you had to stop. Maybe you could argue that there was a chov, but it's hard to say by Birkas Kohanim if you never call them up that you'd be, that would be the mitzvah. I would think Pashtas no. There's no reason if you want to hear Birkas Kohanim, there's no reason you can't get the kiyum, assuming there is one, to go. But it's hard to say for me to be a chiyuv.
For Kriyas Torah, the understanding is that it's the chiyuv on the tzibur.
Right. So therefore,
not on
exactly.
the
So if you didn't go to shul that Shabbos, you're not chayav to make up the next week. But let's say everyone's sort of in shul that Shabbos, and you never got to the laning. So then some discuss maybe then the tzibur will be chayav to read the two parts because it became a chovas at tzibur, and you didn't do it, But by Birkas Kohanim, I'm going to check into it more. I remember looking it up. I got a couple of years ago. I think the conclusion was no, but I remember there was a discussion on it. But maybe we'll discuss that. Maybe we'll continue on Birkas. But next week is Shavuos. The next Thursday after is Penina's graduation. She says I have to come. So I don't know. That's what I want to know.
What? She didn't say that you wouldn't go? You'd still go.
I wouldn't want to go, but and then so that's
tape, by the way.
So that's.
Do you refer to some who were...
Just kidding. I'm just doing it for you.
She'll be traumatized.
No, I don't want going to graduations. Of course, I'd be going to
So
Penina.
3 weeks down the
It's a
road.
hypothetical, yeah. So then the 23rd, I guess, is that because it's the 9th, 16th, and 23rd. I'm guessing.